The Afghan Taliban has confirmed to Al Jazeera its spiritual leader Mullah Omar is dead. It's also elected his replacement, Akhtar Mohammed Mansoor. The Afghan government announced yesterday it had enough evidence to suggest Mullah Omar had died in hospital 2 years ago. But the Taliban refused then to comment. It's now confirmed the report of Omar's death, but hasn't said when he died. We'll get the latest from Kabul in a couple of moments. First, here's a report by Jennifer Glass.
Mullah Mohammed Omar was the spiritual leader and military commander of the Taliban. Famously reclusive, only a few photographs of him exist. The FBI offered millions of dollars for information on his whereabouts. That remained a mystery in the final years of his life. Communications from him came through the Taliban's website, usually on holidays or anniversaries. It was never clear if they were really his words. As a young man, he was a mujahideen fighter, battling the Soviet Army's occupation of Afghanistan during the 1980s. His confidant, Mullah Zaif, described to Al Jazeera how Mullah Omar became the self-proclaimed emir of Afghanistan.
When the Taliban was arising, the need to have a leader, eventually the Taliban chose him because he had 30 people and he had some weapons to use. The second reason, he was a famous and very brave person.
His 30 fighters became thousands. The Taliban took over Afghanistan in 1996. Under Mullah Omar's command, the Taliban established security and order in a country ravaged by chaos and violence. Stability came at a cost. The Taliban's strict interpretation of Islam meant harsh punishment was meted out to the people, as Mullah Omar worked towards implementing his version of a Sharia-based society. He allowed al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden a refuge and freedom to operate in Afghanistan. It was a close and mutually beneficial relationship. Bin Laden swore allegiance to Mullah Omar. Their bond became familial when bin Laden's son married Mullah Omar's daughter. The September 11th attacks on the U.S. in 2001, for which al-Qaeda claimed responsibility, shifted American attention firmly onto Afghanistan. The U.S. demanded the Taliban give up bin Laden. Mullah Omar refused. Expelling his guest would have violated the tradition of hospitality in Pashtun society. In October 2001, a United States-led coalition launched a full-scale war with the aim of destroying al-Qaeda. It quickly drove the Taliban from power, but failed to capture Mullah Omar. After 4 quiet years still in hiding, Mullah Omar directed an increasingly violent war against the newly appointed government of Hamid Karzai, then his successor, Ashraf Ghani. Roadside bombings targeting Afghan security and NATO forces became their hallmarks. The Taliban made areas of Afghanistan virtually impossible to govern. In recent years, there have been political overtures to the Taliban, giving representatives a political office in Qatar. And after years of saying they would never negotiate with what they called a puppet government, Taliban representatives sat down with Afghan government officials. Mullah Omar was nowhere to be seen, but an online message endorsed the negotiations. By then, reports suggest he had been long dead, but the Taliban movement he started is gaining a new political life, with questions now about who its next leader will be. Jennifer Glass, Al Jazeera, Kabul.